when I can, I like to schedule around 3 hours. And that's for me. And I know it can seem like a lot of time, but it's amazing. Like usually kind of the workflow that happens is like, you get to the location and first thing you need to decide where you're going to do it. And so it's kind of just figuring out moving the camera around and trying to figure out like what framing looks good to try to, use the natural leading lines and that kind of thing to help accentuate or to point your eye towards the character or the interviewee's face. So like that takes half an hour at least a lot of times, because you still have to get in, you have to talk to the location owner sometimes, and like all that kind of thing. So at least a half an hour to 45 minutes sometimes, because choosing your location is going to be really key to everything else that you do. And then, then by that point, then you have like an hour and 15 minutes, so it depends on how fast. If you already have something picked out, then maybe you could do less time on setting it up. But some of my favorite interviews that we've done have taken like three hours at least to set up. And people look at you funny when you're like scheduling in 3 hours to set up an interview, because they're used to like news thing where it's just like set up the camera with a light and like away they go. And then I think especially, I'm not the most experienced lighting tech in the world either. So I think as you could do it faster as you get better. I know John Clay's done like hundreds of interviews, and he said he's got it down. He could do it in like 45 minutes if he had to, 30 minutes if he had to. Because sometimes when you're on like a documentary shoot, you only have the person and location for like, X amount of time. You just kind of have to roll with it. So it ultimately depends on how much time you can do. But I mean, I would recommend probably like 2 to 3 hours if you can, if that's not weird. Like if they're like if it would be like really inconsiderate to the person and the in the location, then obviously wouldn't do that. And you don't have to have them sitting in for the whole time. Obviously, like they can come once you're done, and that takes the stress off too, rather than what it still always happens to a certain extent. But if you can have everything set up so that when the interviewee comes, you can kind of just focus on them and making them comfortable, it's going to really help their interview. I know there's been so many times when I'm like rushing, trying to get this whole thing done, and they come in and I'm just like a buzz of activity trying to get stuff done. I'm a little stressed out, and then they get nervous, and like it doesn't help anybody. So if you can get it done and then just basically the ideal is to kind of figure out your location, start setting up lights, and then just kind of finesse and tweak and get it to where you like it, and then just spend like 30 minutes and just kind of sit there and like look at the frame and be like, what could I do to make this just a little bit better, and then tweak and change and do a little bit, and then decide you don't like it and put it back, and whatever. Like that's just kind of how it works. And then the interviewee comes. So it's just and then you can be more mentally prepared. You can make sure, do I have my sound set up correctly? Am I in the right frame rate? Like all these different things. When you're in a hurry, it's easy to forget stuff. So that's probably my recommendation. It depends person to person.